Alright guys, let's find out what happens at the end. My mother took me home in a taxi. She told me my father was on his way to the hospital to be with Fudge. When we got home, she made me lamb chops for dinner, but I wasn't very hungry. My father came home late that night and I was still up. My father looked pretty gloomy. He whispered to my mother, "Not yet, nothing yet." The next day was Saturday, no school, so I spent the day in the hospital waiting room. There were plenty of people around and magazines and books too. It wasn't like the hard bench in the emergency hallway, it was more like a living room. And I told everybody that my brother ate my turtle, and they looked at me kind of funny. But nobody ever said they were sorry to hear about my turtle, not ever once. My mother joined me for supper in the hospital coffee shop. I ordered a hamburger and I left most of it because right in the middle of supper my mother told me that if the medication didn't work soon, Fudge might have to have an operation to get dribble out of him. My mother didn't need anything either. That night my grandmother came to stay with me and my mother and my father stayed at the hospital with Fudge. Things were pretty dreary at home. Every hour the phone rang, and it was my mother calling from the hospital with a report. "Not yet. Okay, I see," Grandmother repeated. "Nothing has happened yet." I was miserable. I was lonely, and Grandmother didn't notice. I even missed Fudge banging his pots and pans together. In the middle of the night the phone rang again, and it woke me up, and I crept to the hallway to hear what was going on. Grandmother shouted, "Whoopee! It's out! Good news at last!" She hung up and turned to me. "The medicine has worked, Peter. All the castor oil and milk of magnesia and prune juice finally worked. The turtle is out." "Alive or dead?" I asked. "Peter Warren Hatcher, what a question!" Grandmother shouted. So my brother no longer had my turtle inside of him, and I no longer had a turtle. I didn't like Fudge as much as I thought I did before the phone rang. The next morning Fudge came home from the hospital. My father carried him into the apartment. My mother's arms were loaded with presents, all for Fudge. My mother put the presents down and kissed him, and she said, "Fudgy can have anything he wants, anything at all. Mommy is so happy to have her baby better." It was disgusting. Parents and kisses and attention for Fudge. I couldn't even look at him. He was having so much fun, and he probably wasn't even sorry he ate my turtle. That night my father came home with the biggest box of all. It wasn't wrapped up or anything, but I knew it was another present. I turned away from my father. "Peter," he said, "this box is a surprise for you." "Well, I don't want another turtle," I said. Don't think you can make me feel better with another turtle, because you can't," I said. "Who said anything about a turtle, son?" Dad asked. "You see, Peter, your mother and I think you've been a good sport about this whole situation. After all, Dribble was your pet." I looked up. Could I be hearing him right? Did they really remember about me and Dribble? I put my hand inside the box. I felt something warm and soft and furry. I knew it was a dog. But I pretended to be surprised when he jumped out on my lap and licked me. Fudge cried, "Oh, doggy, doggy, I see doggy." And he ran over and grabbed my dog's tail. "Fudge," my father said, taking him away, "this is your brother's dog. Maybe someday you'll have a dog of your own, but this one belongs to Peter. Do you understand?" "Peter's dog," Fudge said. "That's right," my father said, "Peter's dog." Then he turned to me. "And just to be sure, son," he said, "we got a dog that's going to grow quite big, much too big for your brother to swallow." We all laughed, and my dog was neat. I named him Turtle to always remind me of Dribble. The end! Can you believe we finished it? Alright, so normally you don't have to answer anything on these read-alouds, but I do want you to go to the Google Doc that I included on this, and I want you to tell me, did you like it? Did you enjoy it? So tell me if you liked it, didn't like it, then why or why not? And I'll find us another book for tomorrow.